Here it is, Darth Maul. I was always curious what I look like when I'm trying to pose these figures. What's going on, everybody? My name's Holter. Welcome back to Radar Review. Today, we're gonna be talking about something that nobody likes to talk about, the prequels. It's been a long time since we've been to 1977. We have the prequels, we have the sequels, we have everything in between. And today we're gonna be diving into a little show that's one of my favorites, Star Wars: The Clone Wars. So back in episode 1, Darth Maul takes down Qui-Gon and then Obi-Wan takes down Darth Maul. But his journey doesn't end there. No, it gets picked up back in Star Wars: The Clone Wars, where Maul actually gets robotic legs and then takes down a lot of other things in that show. Now, I don't want to spoil anything because it's one of my favorites, but he is definitely not done with that story. Okay, so in the series finale of Star Wars: The Clone Wars, there's this huge Siege of Mandalore kind of arc. And then he and Ahsoka Tano kind of go head to head. This is kind of a live action rendition of what that would look like. So what the really cool thing about this figure is it has robotic legs. It also comes in like a shell to where you actually see it in the Clone Wars where he's kind of put in this like prison kind of thing. I know a lot of people are kind of iffy if they want to do live action versus animation, but personally, I'm a big fan of this. So the next live action time we got to see Darth Maul was in the movie Solo: A Star Wars Story. Now in Solo, he looks very similar from here than he does in that movie. It's because they actually use the same head sculpt as they actually do in the Solo Darth Maul figure. It's pretty cool to see the differences and the similarities with the head sculpt and everything, but they're basically identical. Basically the difference between this figure and the Solo figure are that these legs are more leg looking instead of more robotic looking. In the Solo, they're supposed to be a lot more weathered. He's been through a lot more, so they're kind of more torn apart, versus here, they're kind of in pristine condition. But that's gonna be it for kind of the history of Darth Maul. I really wanna get into this figure. I'm not gonna lie, I've been looking forward to this all day.
We'll handle this.
We'll take the long way.
Okay, I'm getting all giddy already. So pretty much as most Hot Toys do, they have this slipcover that reveals the box. And unlike most Hot Toys, this box is a little special. So like I was saying, this is the actual sarcophagus that they put Darth Maul in the show to kind of seclude his force powers. So if you look close to this, you can see a lot of Mandalorian kind of people armor, stuff like that. If we turn it around, it still continues with the box art, which is really cool. Hot Toys definitely didn't have to do this, but putting in that little extra step really shows it. In the show and here, you can actually kind of see Darth Maul peeking out a little bit. It's a little tough just because there's some plastic in the way, but again, didn't have to do this, but I'm really happy they did. So we open it up here. With most Hot Toys, you kind of have a lot of the accessories kind of displayed on the line, but since this is kind of a different look at how Hot Toys are made, there's nothing to be displayed besides the figure itself. Pop open the figure, and here he is. He's looking great, as I definitely would have suspected. So let's put the figure aside for a second and kind of look what's in the box. We open this up, and it's just kind of a hollow shell, and then you have all the accessories, which is pretty nifty. I also must reiterate, with Hot Toys, I know it's not the cool thing to do, and I know you definitely don't want to, but I'd really recommend reading the directions, mostly because these are really expensive figures, and you don't want to break anything, and there's really small, minute things that's with this figure that you wouldn't know if you don't read this bad boy. Definitely hold on to this one. So we have a normal display stand where it says Darth Maul, and then it kind of has this I'd say a Starship Fighter kind of display stand, which is pretty nifty. Nothing crazy besides just this little grabber right here. And then we actually come with 2 different lightsabers. We come with a standard one that's featured in the show, and then you come with one that actually has a hand to it. And the reason for this is because you can actually put batteries in here, and then it'll actually make the lightsaber glow. Now, it's not a really strong glow by any means, but it gets the job done. Now, other things that you have in here is you kind of have a hood for Darth Maul. You can attach this to him with his shirt on or off. That's right, you can take Darth Maul's shirt off and it's all detailed and everything. So it definitely has all that red, black texture and everything, which is really cool. Now with having the option of having the shirt on or off, you also get 2 different types of hands. You have one with the gloves and then you have one that's bare knuckling it, which is pretty cool. This is one final detail that I just absolutely love. In the show, there's a moment where Darth Maul actually removes someone's hand to be able to get a communicator. and it comes with the communicator. And I think that's a really small detail that they definitely didn't have to do, but I'm happy they did it anyways. That's really cool.
Trooper, did you seal the doors? Trooper, if you read this, seal the door. We want to redirect his approach. Over.
All right, and now here he is. This is Darth Maul himself from the Star Wars The Clone Wars Season 7 finale. As you can tell, he has robotic legs. They do look pretty normal, not too robotic, and this is pretty much how they looked in the show themselves. So with Hot Toys, a lot of people are actually kind of scared about this figure because they're talking about how big his neck is. Now, that may sound like a really small thing to talk about with a figure, like, oh, their neck's too large, like, why does that matter? But this is a top dollar figure. You're putting a lot of money down, so you want to make sure that all of this is just like at pristine condition. So personally, when you actually have this figure in hand, the neck looks totally fine. There's really nothing wrong with it. It may look like a little long, but if you just push the head down for Darth Maul, also these are a little sharp. When you actually put your head down for Darth Maul, I wouldn't say that neck looks too big at all. I think it looks completely fine. I think there's a few photos that came out that people just got a little worried about, but I wouldn't worry about it. This figure looks amazing. Another complaint I guess I will have to have about this figure that I haven't been able to solve are, let's pop these off, the little bracelets. So if you can see right here, these are supposed to clip together, and they're supposed to clip together, but the edge, the plastic edge that's supposed to hook onto it just isn't sharp enough, just like by a little bit. So you kind of have this like gap in between. It's not too big of a deal. You can just turn it around however you have it displayed. So it's pretty easy to cover up, but still something worth noting that for both of mine, unfortunately, it does have that problem. From what I'm aware of, it does seem like this is a pretty common problem with most Hot Toys, especially that kind of have this design, is they just don't make that plastic part just like sharp enough so you can actually hook in. So you could contact Hot Toys. However, I wouldn't put any money on it because they probably won't be able to fix it. I was always curious what I look like when I'm trying to like pose these figures, and I'd like to think I look really cool while doing it.
Yeah.
But instead I feel like I actually, look like a toddler trying to sharpen a pencil for the first time. So one of my favorite things about this figure in particular is the lightsaber hilt. Now, I'm gonna nerd out about Star Wars, but long story short, it is kind of a combination from his Episode 1 lightsaber to his Clone Wars lightsaber, and they're hooked together. It's super cool. It's such a just small detail that just brings out this figure even more. I just love it. It's just awesome. I'm a huge fan of this show, so like everything about this is just wow to me. Another thing I really like are the legs. I know they look kind of just like human legs, but kind of robotic. But at the same time, it looks like the show. Once you have it in hand, you can tell it's a lot more robotic than it seems. Yeah, with most Hot Toys, a lot of the material that they use, you can't actually pose it too well because it's gonna break over time. But with the legs, you don't have to worry about it. You can put them in the craziest poses and they will still like be really good after it. Other small details that they have about this is the little jacket has some like wiring to it, so you can actually pose it to make it look like there's wind and everything. Same thing for the back, you can pose it so it kind of looks like there's wind and everything. Small details like that really bring the figure out just that much more. Look, at the end of the day, this is a Hot Toys, so we're looking at the best of the best. So it's really hard to critique. I tried my best with the neck, I tried my best with the head sculpt and everything, but I'm still gooing and gawing over this figure. I don't know what to say. If I had to rate this out of 10, you know, if I had to rate this out of 8 Jar Jars, I'd give it 7 Ewoks. So whatever you put that at, it's a good score from me. If you have any more of the Clone Wars line, it's just gonna look phenomenal next to this figure. I totally recommend it, and I totally recommend the small.
I am surprised you could have forgotten me so easily after I killed your master and you left me for dead on Naboo. It is you.
Like most Hot Toys, these are expensive. You're gonna be putting a little bit of change down. Now, these run for about $250 to $300. I know, a lot of money, but the proof is in the pudding for this one. So I would really recommend this one, and if you really wanna get it, you can check radartoys.com. That's gonna do it for this episode of Radar Review. I'm Holter Madison. May the Force be with you. You can cut the Force be with you if you want. You can do that.